Hi, my name is Avery Lin. I'm a junior at St. John's, and I'm from Denver, Colorado. I'm here in the meme library, surrounded by our beloved collection of books. In addition to the books that we read here, I also love the conversations that arise from reading these books together. I think it can be very difficult these days at times to find common ground in some of the most important conversations that we have. That's why I love how St. John's gives us the program books as a common foundation upon which we can have tough, interesting, and deep conversations. From the moment that you step foot on this campus, you begin to build a kind of common vocabulary, a common set of concepts and ideas with all of your peers here. And throughout the 4 years that you have, those concepts build and grow. And by the time you're a senior, I'm only a junior, but by the time you're a senior, you have a wealth of concepts and ideas that you share with everybody you share this campus with as well. I love hearing what history's great authors have to say about the beautiful and what it means to appreciate beauty in our world. That's something I think I've gotten the most out of reading literature on the St. John's program, particularly authors like Wordsworth, Shakespeare, and even Plato. These authors have given me a new sense of what beauty means, how beauty can manifest itself in our world, and exactly how it comes from the outer world and the inner world to touch our lives in so many different ways. Something that happens quite often to me when studying these books is that I realize that I'm wrong and that I've had preconceived notions that I need to re-examine. I think that's a big part of the St. John's program is you come up against thinkers both in your books and in your classroom among your peers and your tutors that make you realize you need to reevaluate what you think. And I think the thing I love about St. John's is that it's a safe place to realize that it's okay to be wrong and that being wrong is a good thing insofar as it brings you closer to learning about the truth, to being more right, and to becoming a better human being. As to this question of why does studying science or studying, Kantian philosophy, hard philosophy, contribute to reading something like literature, I would give the example of when we're reading Lavoisier, his Elements of Chemistry. What I really learned reading that book was a small change in language can lead to something as monumental as the discovery of oxygen. And all it took was kind of a change in the way we talk. That to me has everything to do with poetry, has everything to do with literature, insofar as a single word of a poem can change the entire interpretation of a stanza or change the entire interpretation of a poem. All it takes is to be able to look into the language and say, what is really going on underneath these words? What is really going on inside of one word itself? And that takes time. It takes time and it takes a lot of intense focus on a piece. I think that there's a power to language that spreads itself across our entire curriculum. And I think language can be studied in all 5 of our different subjects here. So our language tutorial here spans all 4 years. In your freshman and sophomore year, you study ancient Greek. In your junior and senior year, you study French primarily. And in both years, there's some English poetry mixed in. As a whole, I think the language program deals with 2 main things. It deals with translation, and it deals with close reading. And in the way it deals with translation, we have to acknowledge that most of the books we read on this program are written in a language other than English. So we know that coming into reading these texts, there are deeper connections that we're not seeing because these things are coming to us through a different language. I think translation helps us reckon with the fact that human beings don't speak all in the same way. And in the same way, they don't think in the same way. So what does it mean to translate another's writing? That's the same question as what does it mean to translate another's thinking? And I think in a lot of ways, language, learning Greek, learning French, gets us to be better at dissecting what does it mean to translate another's thoughts into a way that I can think about them, and vice versa. How can I translate my thoughts to help others understand what I think? I think the language tutorial especially helps with the process of close reading, insofar as you encounter a passage in Greek or a passage in French, And of course, being a native English speaker, I can't read those things right off the bat. But that's actually an amazing experience when you come up against something in a foreign language and you have to dissect the passage word by word. It teaches you not only how to read the passage in French and get meaning out of something that originally had no meaning for you, but it teaches me, when I come up against something that I read in English, how can I apply the same strategies of reading a foreign language onto reading my native language? That's a skill I think I've really taken away from the language tutorial, is how do I spend a lot of time with words, trying to figure out the weight and the meaning of them, and put that together to form something richer that I didn't see before. I definitely came here with a love of reading and of books in themselves, but I think the thing that keeps me here is the conversations we have about them. Something I've come to realize is that you can't read great books on your own, and that sharing them with others makes them open up and blossom in a way that I never could have seen possible. I think the community here, the friends I've made, the tutors that I've connected with and have learned from, they're the ones who have made this experience so deep and enriching. One piece of advice I have for anyone who's looking at St. John's is to take your education into your own hands. I think that's a key part of your education here, and for me at least, it will be for the rest of my life. I've learned here that you only get out what you put in, and that in a lot of ways our education is built for those students who have a drive for learning, have a drive to share ideas and to learn from others. And in this way, I think I felt during my time at this school that that kind of desire has been rewarded in every respect. In addition to having a passion for the great books and for good discussion, I also have a passion for design and design thinking. And that's why after graduation, I'm hoping to try to find a position at a design consultancy where I'll hopefully be working on experience design, product design, essentially any kind of design that comes my way. And the reason I think St. John's prepares you well for something like a consultancy position is because it teaches you how to listen and understand others, really get down to the root of what's the problem or what's the real question. And then I think St. John's teaches you can have confidence in your ideas, you can have confidence in your thoughts, and that confidence leads you to solutions about maybe what this author is thinking. But I think in the world, that kind of confidence and creative confidence can lead you to something very deep that goes beyond what one might expect.